I'm going to talk to the health sector response in a second, but I'm going to respond to some of the allegations that I've just heard. It is extraordinary. You would think that colleagues opposite are the only people in here who care about people in this country. You talk, Deputy Smith, about feeding the myths, the lies and the hatred, and yet you come in here and you do exactly that. Deputy Boyd-Barrett, you talk about unity and solidarity. You say you don't want people to fall for the tricks of the far right, and then you lay out the tricks of the far left. You say don't conflate real social problems that everyone in this House cares about with xenophobia and racism. And then you spend your entire speech conflating those two things. I've sat beside the Taoiseach several times when he's responded to your claims on this, and he is right. In conflating real social challenges that every one of us here cares about, in conflating that with attacks on places where children from Ukraine are living, in conflating those two things, you are legitimising the hatred and the racism and the fury that you speak about.
Those social
so
challenges.
Maybe have a think about
maybe
that.
We could talk
maybe
about it.
For once, reflect on the fact that there may be other people elected to our national parliament who care about the citizens of this country and the people we invite into this country and take care of these countries. You see, Deputy, you're very good at coming in here and accusing people of all sorts of things. You're very good at accusing the government of not caring about the citizens of Ireland. But you don't like it when people in government point out exactly what you are doing. Deputy Boyd-Barrett, who I have the height of respect for, and always have, you have come in here and you have essentially presented a march on Saturday as a march against racism, which I agree with, but you then conflate it with, but let's use it to attack the government on issues around housing, which are very real, but which are fundamentally different things. This session is on statements on the coordination and response to those seeking refugee status. It is an opportunity for us all to speak with the unity and the solidarity which Deputy Boyd-Barrett refers to and say there is no place in our country for racism. There is no place in this country for xenophobia. And those who protest at places where children have fled from war in Ukraine, those who protest outside on the streets, they are cowards and they are thugs, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So how about we actually act with unity and with solidarity and keep these two issues separate? Let's speak with one voice on the fact that we must protect those fleeing persecution. And then, by all means, let's have the most heated debates about what needs to happen around housing and health. But would you please stop pretending that the only people elected to this House who care about housing, who care about healthcare, who care about education, are those in your party and those of the far left? This government has a long way to go on housing, but last year built more social houses than any year since the foundation of the state. You will never acknowledge that. You will never accept that.
Not true.
Last year, the number of men, women and children waiting longer than the Sláinte Care targets for care fell by 11%. You will never acknowledge that. All you do is come in here and preach crisis and anger and fury, which is what you are referencing in your own speeches. So how about we all act with one voice in calling out the xenophobia and the racism and saying Ireland is doing everything it can, whilst imperfect in our response, doing everything that we can to welcome people into our country, provide the children with education, provide the men, women and children with access to healthcare. Over 50,000 medical cards. We have doctors and nurses and therapists working in every community in this country doing their very best to provide tens of thousands of men, women and children fleeing war with the healthcare services they need. And yes, we have a housing crisis, which is why we are building more homes than have ever been built in terms of social housing. Is there more to be done? Of course there is more to be done. And the government is bending the resources of the state to that. But could we please, for once, speak with exactly the unity that Deputy Boyd Barrett talks about and call out the racism and the bigotry and the xenophobia and the hatred and say to these men, women and children, you are welcome here. We will do everything we can to protect you. We will not get it all right, but by God we will keep trying and trying and trying.
Minister Nocton.
Thank you. The planning, management and allocation of health resources has been